Welcome to a new video where we are talking about cohort-based reporting. So if you are deeper into product analytics, you might immediately have an idea what we are talking about. And I will show you the classic cohort reports in product analytics in a second, but I can tell you, yes and no. So yes, we will talk about cohorts, but we will not talk about the way how you would usually use them, but we are more talking about what cohorts will do to metrics or why it is important to know what kind of metrics you can actually use in the reporting, what do they tell you. And here we will introduce a cohort-based reporting. Okay, so let me take you on a journey. This is, I think, the classic cohort-based reporting that you might know if you worked with classic product analytics tools. This is a classic cohort curve. So this is from Amplitude, but you will also see the same thing in other tools, even like in Google Analytics. And then here you can see this is the classic cohort table, where in the end, like you can see, okay, we are forming a cohort on a daily basis. So like everyone who started out on the 27th of March, we compare them now over time, how they progress over different kind of days, and we compare them with similar days for other cohorts on people who started on other days. So it's a very powerful tool, but I won't explain what these two types of reports do because we want to cover something else. So let's imagine you are working in a very buzzing startup. Buzzing means obviously like everyone is super hyped up, there's a lot of stuff happening, releases every day, new marketing initiatives every day, like your founders appearing on multiple podcasts. So a lot of stuff is happening. Usually what you don't really have is like a really fundamentally big data reporting. So usually like everything is basically how to create it on the fly. And what you will use, like your major BI tool, will most likely be spreadsheets. That's a normal thing. And then honestly, like I even worked with bigger companies where spreadsheets also is the core thing. You will have this one master spreadsheet that in the end, like one or two people will update, or maybe more people will update. And so this even is on a monthly base. Usually these dashboards are on a weekly base to, let's say, to see shorter updates, but they usually look like this, or usually a bit longer, often like with some more metrics, but this is a classic software as a service minimized dashboard. So we are missing all the other MRR down here, but again, for example, this is enough. So let's go quickly through the metrics. So we have marketing spend. So they spend 60,000 in June 25. Then they get that many visits on the website. And from these kind of visits, they created 345 new free accounts. So they have a free model and they have a paid model. So first, the step number one is like to get everyone into a free account. What that means is we can now calculate customer acquisition cost because like we know the new free accounts and like we knew the marketing spend. So therefore we have a customer acquisition cost, an average of 174. Then we also have the new subscribers. Business is going well, so they get new people into a paid subscription. So we have 112 new subscribers. So they calculate a free to paid conversion rate of 32%. They also determine, okay, in average, like people are closing plans, an average of $35 per plan. And so therefore we have a whopping new MRR of 3,920. This might look familiar to you. So maybe you use something similar. So I guess that's fine, or maybe not. So this will be the interesting question. So you can think a little bit out while I'm scrolling here. So I can tell you there is something wrong on this table. Maybe you already have a suspect what you think is wrong. And I can tell you, no, it's not the data quality in general. Let's assume they just wrote down all the numbers from different kind of tools. And let's assume the tools are set up properly and everything is working fine. No, there is still an issue, even when we know that all the numbers are technically correct. Let's have a closer look at the relative metrics. Relative metrics is like we calculate them based on other totals. For example, customer acquisition cost is where we take the marketing spend and we divide them by the number of new free accounts. Conversion rate, so we take the new free accounts and we divide them by the visits. This is how we come up with all the different kind of relative metrics. Some relative metrics are completely fine. This one, conversion rate, is completely fine. And I'll explain a little bit more over time why this one is fine and the others that I will flag not. But this one most likely has an issue. This one definitely has an issue. And this one down here maybe has an issue, so we flag it like this. You can think about what might be problematic with these while I explain, or I build up a little bit more to explain why these metrics are problematic. Because they're technically right. It's a simple equation. They didn't do any mistake. It's a formula in a Google Sheet, so what can go wrong? Okay, but let's have a look. These ones are definitely wrong. So we have to understand why. And the reason why they're wrong is, and I just tell it like this, the time is wrong. But what does that mean? What does even mean time is wrong? So I'm just building up. So someone who already has an idea, feel free, let's say, be happy that you're already potentially on a path. What is wrong here? Let's have a look on the customer journey. This is something that I really recommend to do for yourself as well. When you look at any kind of reporting, you always should have a very solid understanding of the customer journey. And it also helps a lot to map it out. So this is one version of a customer journey. You might have different kind of variation, but it also will not be crazy different kind of variation if you don't go to granular. But let's see here. Someone clicks on an ad for a webinar. They sign up for the webinar. Then after some time, they get a follow-up email which says, look, we have this new feature, so you can sign up, create an account. So they click on this, they come to the website, they create a new account, and then they're starting to use the product, and they're really getting to the first success moment in the product. Great. You definitely have them hooked. So then after some time, they're starting to use the product more regularly. So first you can see they come every week and then they start to come back every day. Now that's great because this means at some point they will run into issues that they want to use features that are not available in free, or in the end like they hit a quota so they cannot do stuff anymore. So they will end up in a new subscription. Hooray. So this is like where you want to get the people. That's great. When we look at this, looks like a totally normal customer journey. So where's the problem here? Let's add another dimension to it. Let's add the time dimension to it. So let's go through all the different kind of steps. Clicking on a webinar ad, maybe this takes 10 minutes, is really long. Maybe it just takes 2 minutes, but it doesn't matter. So it takes 10 minutes, someone signs up for a webinar. Then it takes them 15 days until they get this one email that is interesting for them, that they decide, okay, maybe I should come back and do something on the website. Then they click on it, it takes 1 second. Then they come to the website, quickly create a new account, so they're quite fast with that. And then again, it takes them 6 days to get to their first success moment. Because they were trying a little bit around when they have the new account created, but then they say, okay, I don't have enough time today, so they wait a little bit, but they come back and then they try it again, and then they get to the first success moment. So that's great. So 6 days is totally normal for that. Then it takes quite a while until they start to use it regularly. As I said, like they're starting to use it on a weekly basis. And then it takes them roughly 27 days until they now start to use it on a daily basis, which is great, but it takes some time. And then in the end, from there, it takes them another 20 days because they are like, oh, maybe I can work around all the limitations. Maybe I don't really need to upgrade. But after 20 days, they decide, okay, actually, I have to upgrade. Again, this can be different on a user base, but let's say 53 days, we have 53 days from a new account created to subscription is not completely weird as an average. Sometimes it's even higher. It's also like a design choice. It's something you play around with to figure out, okay, how do I have to restrict the free plan that I push more people into paid plans to push them into the decision much earlier. Again, this is something that you can work on a product perspective, but let's say when you look into the data, and I highly recommend for you to do the same, figure out the time between these essential things. New account has been created, new subscription has been created. And on the other side, we have the same thing. It's not like that everyone just shows up on the website and immediately creates a new account. So usually the first touch point might be quite longer and might even a lot longer than just 15 days. So again, we calculate here 15 days as an average, but in total it means it takes 68 days from the first touch point to revenue. That's quite a long time. So how does this mess up our reporting? It does it in the following way. When we look at the same chart again, and we now have a look on the new subscribers. So we calculate the free to paid conversion in a very simple way. So we say, okay, we take the new subscribers, we divide them by the new free accounts. By that, we get to 32%. The problem is these new subscribers are not based on these new free accounts, because as we have determined, it takes usually around 50 days to someone go from a free account to a paid account. So most likely, these 112s are actually based on new free accounts that have been created 1 or 2 months ago. And the same goes for the visits. So here, for example, like what kind of marketing spend has created these kind of visits? Again, this comes a lot down how you handle attribution, but let's say you go for a first such attribution to say, okay, I want to put an emphasis on where we make people aware of our product, and then we kick off the journey, which is definitely a good way to do. If we do this, then it can be that this 60,000 were actually, or like the marketing that was caused by this 60,000 just happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, and not actually when the people came to the website and not when they created the new accounts. So again, like this means like the customer acquisition costs are potentially not really right, because like here we just assumed that everything was just happening within this 1 month, which it didn't. How can we solve that? Because this is a solid reporting. You might use it along the way. And I can tell you, this report is not wrong. It's just a specific type of report, and we will fix it along the way. So how can we do it differently? And here we introduce cohort-based reporting. Cohort-based reporting is reporting that you can use for performance analysis. Keep in mind, for performance analysis, you use cohort-based reporting. You don't use it for actual reporting, you just use it for performance analysis. What does it mean? It means we take the new free accounts that have been created and we take their timestamp as the definition of the cohort. And so then we can do this on a monthly base, we could do it on a daily base, we could do it on a weekly base, but this report now is on a monthly base. So in the end, we hook up everything here based on the free accounts, and we say, okay, these 412 are all new free accounts that have been created in April 25. We then analyze over the months from April to now, which is November, how many new subscribers of these 412 have been created. So we're creating this cohort. So these 412 is our baseline. And from there, we are looking, okay, how many of these have become new subscribers? And so it turns out over the time, we added up 156. So that's great. Might this number change? Yes, that's possible. In performance or cohort-based reporting, the numbers can change because obviously from these 412, there could be still 10 who sign up in December. So then the number will change. You have to monitor the numbers. Obviously, over time, they get more solid. So they don't change so much anymore. But the good thing is like now we have a solid free to paid conversion rate, because this one, we base them on the cohort that we have defined here, and we look who of these have actually converted. That's a real conversion rate, and turns out it's even higher than the one that we calculated before. The same goes to average plan amount. I think the variation in this one might not be so high. Basically, we just divide them by the new MR that has been generated, and by that we have the average plan amount. But you can have extreme scenarios. So as we can see here, I think before we had something with 38, here we have 28 now. So what could be is like that in April they were running a discount. So they were running a discount action. This is the reason why, for example, this free to paid conversion rate goes up. And the discount, on the other hand, means is like that everyone who gets the discount code and now signs up over the next 2 months is actually starting on a lower plan amount. So therefore, this one can be affected from this as well. And now when we finally look at the customer acquisition cost, again, now we tie them, like we look at this 412, and this is a more complicated thing to do. So we look at the 412, we look where they were actually coming from. So we calculate the direct marketing cost that these 412 has cost, because like they clicked somewhere and so on. And then we take the non-direct marketing spend and we basically drop it on them as well. This will end up then with a slightly different customer acquisition cost for this kind of cohort. This calculation is also like a little bit more tricky to do, but it's worth the exercise. And it's in the end, it's doable. As I said, like usually you determine the direct cost because like you can collect the marketing touch point that these free accounts had that you could measure. These ones you can directly attribute, and then you take everything of the cost that happened in this kind of time period. Let's say you take them into account and you just spread them based on specific rules. And like how you do the rules is up to you. You can do a lot of fine tuning. So this can take a bit. But again, like this then in the end gets you a proper customer acquisition cost, and also like you can explain to everyone how this customer acquisition cost is actually built up. All right, so this is our cohort-based reporting. How you would use it, you use it to determine exactly these metrics. Because you are interested to follow up the free to paid conversion rate over time. Because this is an essential rate that you want to optimize your business on. So now you can create a nice time series chart or nice line chart where you can see how this is developing. But now you base it on proper metrics. Now it basically tells you the right kind of free to paid conversion rate. Shouldn't you use the other report? No, because you still might do just actual reporting. Actual reporting means what did actually happen in this month. So the only thing what I would recommend is you just leave out specific metrics for that, because they're performance-based, so they don't really make sense. It still can make sense to just calculate the customer acquisition cost, but then potentially just go for, let's say, running year or the last 12 months or the last 6 months. So you just extend the time period, and then with that you basically get a better balanced metric out of it. But let's say for the actual reports, you can keep the conversion rate. The conversion rate is fine. Why is it fine? Because when you can remember the customer journey, because the time is insignificant between someone comes on the website and then gets into a new free account. Therefore, this is usually happening within 1 month. I mean, there might be edge cases where, let's say, it doesn't really fit into this kind of bucket, but I would say it usually doesn't cause any kind of problem, so therefore you can keep it in it. But for example, the free-to-paid conversion rate, you should compare how the performance or cohort-based average plan amount looks like and how the actual average plan amount looks like. When it's quite close, I would potentially keep it in here because I wouldn't see so much variation in this. But with that, actual reporting works. The only important thing is don't add this, and potentially also don't add this. This one is the most important thing that you should not add in there, because if you would start to optimize on this one, you would make significant mistakes. So there it is. These are two different kind of reporting. The first one is when you really want to look into performance, use a cohort-based reporting. If you want to look into just what happened in this month, use an actual reporting, but it's important to know that you know the difference. So if you have any kind of questions, feel free to drop them in the comments if you like the video. And if you want to see more videos, don't forget to subscribe, and I see you in the next video.